Hi, my name is Susie and today I'm going to be informing you on the art of quilting. So the first thing I'm going to ask you guys is how many of you have quilts in your homes or quilts that you sleep with, or maybe your mom has it in her house or your grandma in her house. And then I'm also going to ask how many of you know the construction that goes behind it and all the intricate details. So after today, I'm hoping that you all be able to grasp the work that goes into putting a quilt together, along with the mental health benefits that it provides, and some history behind quilting and the importance on different timelines. I have been personally sewing and quilting for a couple of years. I have researched the history behind it, and while also personally experiencing the mental health benefits it's provided me. First, I will be talking about how to construct the quilt and the details in the work behind it. Next, I will emphasize the peace this activity can provide mentally. Lastly, I will provide information on the history of what quilting has meant to other people. Quilting can be somewhat of a difficult but very rewarding activity, and now I'll explain the steps that go into that. There are many different patterns to follow. Some are available online, some in quilting stores. They're pretty easy to find. But for beginning quilts, a lot of people start with patchwork quilts, which are just different colored squares. It's very simple and easy to follow. A lot of people start with a pattern called log cabin as well. Today I'll be showing you how to make a mini quilt, and I use just like a simple down the middle design for what is called the quilt top. So the first items you're going to need are obviously a sewing machine. Mine's in the other room. It's kind of hard to move, but and you also need hand stitch tools, needles, pins, fabric scissors, fabric cutter, measuring tools such as this mat. It measures and protects your table when you're cutting. Also, you'll need rulers. I have many different types of rulers. These are just two of them. I have even bigger ones. And then your chosen colored fabrics. Today here we have some whites and beiges and light browns. And then I'm gonna show you, this is a visual of a quilt top. It's gonna be what you'll sew what's called multiple blocks together, and it'll be a big top. So this is just one square, but I would make multiple of these and sew it all together. So we're gonna think of a quilt. An easy way to think of it is like a sandwich. And so the second part you're gonna need is what's called batting. This is like the meat of the sandwich. And it's what keeps your quilt warm, and it's just a soft cotton layer that goes in between. The next part, so like the top is your bun and the batting is the meat, and then this is your other bun, which is the backing. And usually you don't do any type of design. It's usually just one fabric, and you can either cut it into two pieces for the back or keep it as one, but it's usually very simple. I just chose a pretty design for it like that. Okay, so the quilt, we've got the whole sandwich here. Lastly, you'll need what is called the binding. I'll just use a simple kind of representation right here. It is what holds everything together so that everything stays nice and together like that, and you put it on the edge and it keeps your whole sandwich together, and it's like a strip of fabric and you sew it on. Some people also get their quilts long arm sewed, which is where it's sewed on top and it so stays really tight and all together. Now that we understand what goes into crafting quilt, I will now be explaining the mental health benefits of quilting. Some people get into quilting as an activity to keep their mind busy and healthy because it is common that the only thing you can focus on when quilting is the quilt. It is also a way for people to remember loved ones. Lots of people make t-shirt quilts or quilts out of clothes of past loved ones. Phoebe Morgan states in her journal article that my father had just passed away and I decided to make a commemorative quilt from his clothing. During those moments, I simply quilted out the negative emotions that could not be worked out with those I had an issue with. Quilting helps me put my own concerns into proper perspective so that I may better hear and think about the issues of others. Anne Futterman Collier and Katia von Karoli also said in their journal article how a variety of activities can help people improve their bad moods. We propose activities that are engaging, arousing, and associated with the mental state of flow that can be particularly helpful and inspire what we call rejuvenation. Rejuvenation, as we conceive it, is a state of feeling restored, renewed, and ready to start anew with which continues beyond immediate participation in mood repair activity. And that we found that textile hand activities rated as rejuvenating, mixed media, surface design, quilting, weaving, spinning, and dyeing. So things you do with your hands. Lastly, I'll be going over the history behind quilting and the details that would be unexpected from the craft. Different parts of history can highlight the importance of quilts. For example, Felicia Chandler reveals that quilting was also a means to continue oral history. He realized some quilters were reproducing Underground Railroad patterns to contain secret codes. In 1999, the book Hidden in Plain View suggests Black people seeking asylum from slavery used quilts with specific patterns to navigate escape on the Underground Railroad. For example, the log cabin quilt, as we talked about earlier, pattern depicted a square surrounded by rectangles and meant escapees had found a safe house. While Virginia Gunn states quilted America, American women have always been able to produce functional quilts in large quantities if the occasion demanded the effort. They made thousands of cot-sized quilts for soldiers during the Civil War and thousands of comforters to send to war-torn Europe after World War II, fully expecting these to be torn to shreds. American women readily dedicated hours of time and efforts in numerous ways to help people in need, just as they donated money to cause they believed in. But when quilts were made and given, the process was as important as the product. Quilts represented a higher form of material empathy because they were inevitably personal and each was unique. No quilt is the same. Both of these references reveal that quilts were more than just a blanket. They were a way to send a message to others or a way for women to help out during the war when there was nothing else to be done. When they didn't have the money or their husbands were off to war, this was a way for them to help. Quilts were more than just something you see in most people's home. They're a valuable possession and they highlight memories and a past for most people. Quilting sadly has become somewhat of a lost art, but more women my age are finding themselves involved in DIY practice as prices of items escalate and become more expensive, and a vintage style in your home returns. That's kind of come back, and a lot of people are doing that more. Hopefully it will slowly make its way back into society, especially with all the benefits I explained here today. In conclusion, I hope next time when you hold a quilt, you'll remember how much someone put work into it and what it could meant to them. Maybe you could even ask them, what does this mean to you? Thank you so much.